So we are being recorded. Today's session shouldn't take too long. It should be pretty brief. And the reason I wanted to do this today, we went out and we had that business plan go out. And the business plan, was kind of going into the micro scheduling and things like that. And I wanted to, kind of correct that, if you will. I believe that the schedule is, I always say, give me your morning and the rest of the day will just work itself out. So I'm a big fan of that. So if you give me 2 hours of your day, the rest of the day will it'll just handle itself. Now, I know it's not a perfect, things come up. However, the goal is to really, really create the habit of a certain time. And I always say morning. The reason why morning is important is because, it's hard to control the afternoon. I mean, the afternoon things happen. It's easier to wait till 10:30, even 11. Things, it's easier just to control that. So when I was a listing agent on the phones every day, I would actually do what was called real-time voicemail. And every day I would change my voicemail on my phone. It would say, hey, today, this is Rob Aubrey. It's Wednesday, December 27th. I am in the office. I won't be available till about 10:45. And so, and I was prospecting even 10:30, and I was prospecting every day from 8 to 10. And I said 10:30, 10:45. I gave myself a little half hour to get caught up. But my phone would blow up at 10:45. Everybody called. Now, the beauty of doing something like that was people would call and they would get that voicemail, and the voicemail would say, I won't be available at 10:30, 10:45. And then, so if it was a panic buyer, they would immediately hang up and call the lender. Then the lender would answer their question. Then when you called them at 10:45, they were no longer panicked, which was cool. And then, and they were like, oh yeah, we're all good now. And I'm like, perfect. So that's the power of using real-time voicemail every day, is you can eliminate some of those types of calls. And after a while, people just know not to call you until 10:30. So anyway, well, that's just a little bit of a rabbit trail there. But today we're going to talk about the schedule for at least 100,000 per year, right? So, and it's not this. I'm not interested in. I wake up at 5 o'clock. I brush my teeth at 5:05. I have breakfast at 5:09. That's not the type of schedule I'm talking about. I'm talking about just a real simple time block of the most important thing, and that's lead generation or appointment setting. And you can even change the phrase lead generation or prospecting. I don't like to minimize it and really soften it up too much. I'm not a big fan of softening things, but I like the phrase appointment setting sessions, for prospecting, because it kind of really gets clarity, right? So prospecting is what most people get on the phone, they prospect for the sake of prospecting, and they're like, I don't like that. And I'm like, well, yeah, so you're prospecting for the wrong reasons. You need to be prospecting. You need to be focused on what? Setting appointments. So let's talk about earning $100,000 a year. If you were in corporate America, right, and if you made $35 an hour, which is a high-paying job here in Utah, that's $70,000 a year. So at that rate, you would actually have to have 48 hours a month per month in overtime at $35 an hour. I mean, or you'd have to make $50 an hour, if you could find that job. But so think about that. 48 hours a month, that's another 6 days a month. You're literally talking about an extra week and a half. A day and a half a week in overtime just to earn $100,000. I mean, you would have no life, right? So, but real estate is like, man, give me 2 hours. So let's talk about that. It's and it's simple. If you keep it simple, it will be simple. Real estate is it's a simple business. It's hard work, but it is a simple business. Okay. Let's not, minimize that it's hard work. I mean, so we'll get going on that. So let's say the schedule, right? So real estate median. So what I did is I ran the median sold price for Salt Lake County in fourth quarter was $277,000, right? That was the median sold price, right? So meaning half the homes sold for more and half sold for less. So we're going to stick with that number. And then, so if you took the median sold price and times it by 2.75%, right, is what you'd maybe earn on that. So, commissions go down in a seller's market, commissions go up in a buyer's market. Now, this is not a conversation about fixing commissions or carving out territories or anything. Those are just the facts of supply and demand. So if you were to earn $7,600, and I rounded some of those numbers, some of them I didn't. So it's 70. You'd have to sell 14 homes per year, right? So 14 homes. That's just a little hair more than one a month, right? Not a big deal, right? So then you go to so that's pretty simple, right? So just a little more than one a month at that particular price. Now, obviously, if you go up in price, things are different. So let's look at that. 14 closings equals 20 clients. So in other words, you're going to need 20 clients to get 14 closings. Okay, 20 clients is not a lot. That's less than 2 per month. Think about that. It's less than 2 per month. Clients. Now we're not talking about if you start off with 100,000 and it's January 1 and you got 0, it's like kind of a little overwhelming. So we're going to keep it focused. Keep it focused onto the simple. Okay. So 20 clients equals 40 appointments. Now that's at a mediocre, kind of average skill level. So in other words, if you went on 40 qualified appointments where you pre-qualified the people and you went on 40 of those appointments at a medium kind of average skill set, you will take 20 clients. And those 20 clients will result in 14 closes. Not everything closes for whatever reason. They just don't. Okay. And some of those appointments, you may not take them. And that's okay. It's okay not to take to go on an appointment and just decide, you know what, this is not a good fit. So, but anyway, so we're keeping it simple. 14 closes equals 20 clients. 20 clients equals 40 appointments, right? 40 appointments equals 1 per week, working 40 weeks per year. My coach says 40 weeks is about right. And if you think, so you take between, vacations, long weekends, time off, sick days, holidays and things like that, it basically you work 40 weeks. So, and then, so that's about what it boils down to. So we're just going to stick with that number for simple math too, right? Now me, and those of me, I'm a workaholic, so I work, 56 weeks a year. So, and that's just who I am. So anyway, so we're just keeping it very simple. 40 appointments equals 1. So one appointment per week, right? Working 40 weeks. That's what do you call it? That's pretty simple business, right? So let's talk about that. So 2 hours per day, 2 hours per day. Okay. And we're not going to call it prospecting for some people that have an adversity to that, but I'm not going to soften the word. We talked about it in the beginning. We're going to call it appointment setting sessions. So when you sit down, are you setting appointments? So in other words, if you're sending out a bulk email, is that appointment setting sessions? Well, maybe if you're getting responses. So in other words, if you sit down and send out 50 emails and 2-3 people respond to where you can start engaging, well then that would qualify. Some drip system to a list that you really don't even know who they are, that's a little hard pill to swallow that counts. So it's up to you. I'm not going to sit here and say this equals that or that and nothing, because it depends on what you do. Are you chasing SOI appointments or referrals? Are you chasing for sale by owners, expired, web ads, and web ads can range from Google pay-per-click to, Facebook push ads. So it's just, or geographic farming, whatever it is for you, it needs to be, 2 hours a day, but you got to focus on appointment setting sessions. In other words, are you sitting down focusing on that, right? And that's the key. I think if all you did was focused on the phrase appointment setting sessions, I think your world will change. So let's talk. So now 2 hours a day, right? It goes 5 days a week, 10 hours a week of lead generation, which plus And then you figure 10 hours for appointments, right? So if you went on appointments, and we're only talking, how many appointments did we say? It was only 2 appointments a month. If you can do 2 appointments in 10 hours. And now I know realized buyers and all that kind of takes more time and things like that. Always the focus is on listings. You focus on listings, buyers just take care of themselves. So, and again, this is to keep it simple. Now, there are numbers that are going to change based on your price range, based on your geography, things like that. Things will change based on that. So, however, we have to have some kind of formula to work off of. Okay. So we're talking about 2 hours a day, 5 days a week, 40 weeks a year will net you $100,000. Okay. Or at least gross $100,000. So we said, so what if, right? So now it's based off of the median price of $277. What if you increased your sales price to $350? What would that do for your business? So think about that for a minute, right? So you went from $277 to $350, and $350 times 2 3/4 equals $9,600, right? Times 14 transactions. So based on the 14 transaction formula, that's $134,000. So that's a pretty significant increase. That's a 30% increase for the same amount of work. See, that's the key. That's the beauty of this business. Okay, if you were working in corporate America, okay, to earn 30% more, you'd have to get, you get a 3% raise. So which means you would have to work, 30% more, right? So if you're working 40 hours a week, you'd have to add 12 hours a week, and let's just say they're paying you overtime, if they're paying overtime. So at least 9 hours a week to give yourself a 30% raise. And that's a week, not a, 9 hours, So anyway, so that's just a difference where here we can make a little tweak, and increase our revenue by 30%. That's pretty cool stuff. So so what if you improved your sales skills? Remember what I talked about, a mediocre sales skills was, you took every other appointment. So if you went on 40 appointments, you would take 20, okay? So what if you improved your sales skills, right? And 40 appointments equal 30 sales. Think about that for a minute, because getting the appointment and actually going on the appointment, that is most of the work when you're talking about sellers, because you can hire a transaction coordinator where you go out and get the paperwork signed, turn around and hand it to somebody else, and they're ordering a title, ordering a sign, getting a lockbox installed, ordering the photography. They're handling all that, getting missing the initials. Offer comes in, you negotiate the offer with the seller, get it signed, turn around and hand it back off to the coordinator. So, most of the work was getting the appointment and then getting the contract signed. That's the work. So if you can go on 40 appointments to take 20 and then improve your skills to where you're now taking 30, think about that. Just the amount of money you're going to make. You're going to times that by 30. So instead of before where we were at, this number equaled $100,000 at 20, right? So now we're or a little over 20. Or I'm sorry, it was 14, right? So I don't know how I came up with 30 on that one. So so this number is off, but you get the premise I'm going to. So I didn't factor in that only a certain amount of these will sell. So that's more than double for the same amount of work, but you get the point. So even if it was, 200,000, still you've doubled your income, right? For it should be double. It should be about 180. But anyway, you get the point. So now, so what if you increased your sales price and your sales skills? Think about that, right? So look at the amount of money you can make, right? And remember, this is all about 2 hours a day. This isn't, let's not complicate this business. We tend to complicate real estate at high levels, and it's not. Your job, if you focused a whole week, you get up Monday morning and you say, I have until Friday evening to set and go on one appointment. That's it. One appointment. Let's not complicate this. I have to have a list of, 1,000 web leads and email addresses and campaigns. it's really, which is all well and good if that's all systematized. But the key is, if you want to keep it simple, you wake up every Monday with zero, and your only objective for the whole week is to set and go on an appointment. Now you can set an appointment for the following week, and go on one this week. So you can go on one this week and set one for next week. So, but that is really is that simple. And I can't put enough emphasis on how simple it really can be. So I really want you to just keep that focus when you're getting up and working. Don't get overwhelmed with so that's almost triple the income for the same amount of work. That's the beauty of this whole thing is you can simply you can work the same amount of hours, but actually increase your revenue dramatically. There aren't too many things where you can go to work every day and decide to make more for the same amount of money. I mean, the same amount of work. That's, not too many places can do that if you think about it. Now, so I really want to put the emphasis on that, especially for our upcoming program, the Productive Agent, where, we had this little pure accountability thing going on, and there's getting some resistance on that. Well, this and that, I'm like, look, this isn't about, I don't care what time you ate breakfast, what time you went to the gym. It's not about any of that. I just want to know, did you do your 2 hours? That's it. It's all about your 2 hours. And I always say, if you can't do 2 hours every day, then it's like, please explain it to me. This is your job. If you can't do 2 hours a day, I'm interested in hearing why. And I'd like to record you saying it so I can play it back to you. That's just how I feel about it. 2 hours. We're only talking 2 hours a day. And, there's all kinds of things. And I realize everybody's at a different place. We have young people that are earning a living. We have retired people that have pensions and things like that. And I know you're all over the board, and different people have different life scenarios, and that's fine. However, what I'm talking about is if you want to make $100,000, it takes 2 hours a day. It really is that simple, 2 hours a day. But you've got to commit to the 2 hours. In other words, you can't have, well, I got this at this time and this at that time. It's like, no, the 2 hours, your morning has to be sacred. The morning has to be sacred. And if you have something you do once a week on a morning time, that's fine, as long as you compensate for it. So maybe work a Saturday 2 hours or an afternoon of 2 hours. It's hard to work afternoons 2 hours. It really is, because it's easier, I promise you, it's easier to control your mornings most times. And now there's obviously the exception to rules, but it's definitely easier to control your mornings than it is to control your afternoons. So, because again, if you control your morning, if you own the morning, give me your morning, your afternoons will just fall in place. They will. They'll fall in place. Everything will be honky-dory. If you're closing a deal and a half or deal and a quarter a month, and the thing is, you can improve your skill sets, right? And improve your skill sets, maybe add a half hour, plus improve your skill sets. Now you're starting to close 2 deals a month, right? And how cool is that? If you were to close 2 deals a month, let's do some basic math here. I'll get my calculator up here. 2 deals a month, right? That's 7,600 times 2. That's 15,000 times 12. That's 182,000 a year. Come on, that's some serious cash. Serious cash. And it's like, why wouldn't you do it? What kills me the most is people that they'll come into real estate and not put in the work, but they'll go, they'll go out and get a job working 8 hours for somebody and making a small fraction of what they could make in real estate. But because they're like, well, I needed the cash. I'm like, man, if you'd only worked while you were in real estate, you could have bought the company that you went to and got a job for. So anyway, any thoughts, questions, concerns on any of this stuff? It's been awfully quiet, and I know you're all still on the line. I can see it. At least my software says you're still there. So I'm going to go ahead and unmute everybody. So if you have if you're in a noisy place, go ahead and mute yourself. So I'm going to go ahead and unmute everyone. So if you have any questions, let's go for it.
Well, I mean, if you're using points and it's free, then I'll fly Southwest. If you have to pay for it, then look at Delta.
Yeah. So using points for Southwest and Delta, is that a question? I unmuted everybody, just so you know. So, and then that person that can help fly cheaper, please contact me after the program.
Different time frame?
All right. So obviously, so I'm going to mute everyone. So if you need to speak, just go ahead and unmute yourself. So obviously people are distracted. I do the same thing when I'm on a webinar, so I get it. So if there are no further questions, so let's see. What is your source you like to generate leads? So that's a text. So that's a great question. I mean, so and it's different for everybody. When I was, I hadn't lived in Utah that long, so I moved to Utah from another state. And I started cold calling early on. My favorite used to be non-owner occupied when it came to cold calling. And as years went by and my business had grown and I had, several years behind me, my SOI business started to pick up. Now, the irony of it is, and I suffered what all agents do, is I chase silver, shiny objects, but never really focused on my sphere of influence. It's amazing how if you all went through your past business and looked at your sources, most of you will have most of your business come from SOI. Now, I know there are some people out there that generate web leads and they're purchasing through systems and stuff like that, which is fine. If you're purchasing leads, just know that you don't own a business. You own somebody else's job, really. I mean, and it's okay. Not saying, hey, if you're making $200,000 a year purchasing leads, then God bless you, right? I'm not going to complain there. So, but most of you that have purchased leads don't. So, but SOI is the highest rate of return. It's the easiest to convert. It takes time. So, working in SOI, it's not one mailer and you're done. It takes about 18, it's like a farm. It takes about 18 months to 2 years before it really becomes consistent to where, but here's the key. You cannot just do emails and mailers to your SOI and expect to have this major business. Work in your sphere requires a minimum of 4 voice-to-voice or, face-to-face contacts per year. So in other words, the mailers are designed to keep you top of mind between your phone calls. So, but other than that, I mean, and then market fluctuations can dictate what is a good source too. So in other words, right now, for sale by owners are actually selling. So it could be tough road to hoe where you're chasing FSBOs that can actually sell. And then you have a highly competitive field where you're competing against a lot of agents for very little food. I mean, so it's just not that much food for the herd. And of course, the herd gets bigger. The herd gets bigger in a seller's market. So there's less food to go to. So, but the key is you've got to, if you learn to keep your pedal to the metal right now, then when the market shifts, man, you're in a great place because you'll be shifted and the rest of the community won't. The rest of the community will shift out, which is awesome when that happens. It's unfortunate the economy goes in the tank. Now, I'm not talking about the last recession we had. That was brutal. So I'm talking about just a dip in the market where, we leave a bunch of fish behind. So I'm okay with that. So, and then when the market shifts, I mean, so you can have different things, but your SOI is always your consistent, your bread and butter, year after year, year after year, year after year. You work your SOI, and you have to be consistent. I remember taking a listing one time, and a guy said to me, he was, what do you call it? He called me and he says, Rob, he goes, I probably have over the years, about 10 different people that I've known very well in real estate. You are the only one that is consistent. We've gotten stuff from you regularly. We know you're in the business. You're always in the business. Ups and downs, we still got stuff from you. And, and that's the consistency key. So anyway, I hope that answers your question. Any other questions? Go ahead and chat or unmute yourself and go ahead and ask. So if there's nothing else, I'm going to take off, and this should be our, I may have one more for the year before the year's over, but this should be kind of our last one for the year. Anyway, so that's it for now. I'm going to take off. If you have any questions, just go ahead and email me, and I'll be glad to help you out any way I can. Thanks. Make it an awesome day. Happy New Year. Merry Christmas, everybody.